You're capable. You get things done. You've spent years being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one everyone counts on. So why do you feel so exhausted trying to hold it all together? Why do you say yes when you're already overwhelmed, push through when your body is asking for a break, and still feel guilty when you slow down? People-pleasing and perfectionism often get rewarded on the outside, but underneath, they slowly disconnect you from yourself. In this episode, I'm joined by Cindy Payne, founder of Rooted Counseling and Wellness, to unpack why these patterns become so hard to break in midlife. And if you ever caught yourself thinking, why do I keep doing this, even when I know it's not good for me, this episode is for you. If you've been telling yourself it's fine, but deep down you know something needs to change, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Pursue Your Spark podcast, and I'm your host, Heike Yates. This is a show for the in-between seasons of midlife, where we uncover the habits and comfort zones keeping you stuck and move you towards strength and action without forcing a reinvention. Hey everybody, I am super delighted to invite my friend Cindy Payne to our show today because I had the pleasure to be on her podcast. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here.
You know, guys, when you know somebody and you connect, you have these endless conversations before you record a podcast.
You do.
And we talked everything from about retiring, in my case, to Portugal, to Cindy move to California, into the woods, to being an empty nester. It's just delightful.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We're diving into a topic that is delightful in its own way. Cindy, you work with high-achieving women. What do people-pleasing and perfectionism actually look like in everyday life for women who seem like they're holding it all together?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think on the outside, it obviously looks like they're holding it all together. They're able to pull it off. But when you get really close to it, there's a lot of fear underneath that, in my experience, which can lead to a lot of rigidity. So rigid thinking, rigid schedules, just rigid predictions about the future. And that's mostly run by fear in my clinical experience with clients. Yeah.
Does it, when you think of people-pleasing and perfectionism, how do they go hand in hand with that?
Sure. Yeah. So people pleasing, another word that we could use for it in the therapy world is fawning. So it's something that you learned at an early age to keep yourself safe. And I really think that goes nicely with perfectionism, because perfectionism is just really living in avoidance of the truth. With vulnerability, right? It's like, if I don't have to enter into this relationship with vulnerability, then I can just stay safe, but then I never really take risks and I never really get to know myself or others on a deeper level because I'm so risk averse.
And fear definitely will get in the way of all of this and hold you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sure.
I would love for you to share a bit about your work through that lens we just talked about. What made you start noticing how deeply those patterns affect women in their daily lives and also in their self-worth?
That's a great question. When I was starting out as a baby therapist, I was seeing clients from all walks of life, all ages, but the ones that really resonated with me were the ones that really shared a lot of my own story, characteristics from my own story, so people who had maybe grown up with a lot of rigidity in their own upbringing, maybe some fear, maybe some shame, just this real need to get it right and to be perfect and to please, right? And for a long time, it really worked. And so it's this really confusing relationship that you do with something that gets you ahead and it gets you all the things that you think you're going to need to be happy and fulfilled in life. But somewhere around midlife, when our estrogen levels start to drop, we get tired, right? And we don't have the capacity nor the desire anymore, I think, to try to manage it all and do it all. So they're coming in with usually a lot of high levels of anxiety and maybe depression. Maybe they don't recognize themselves anymore or the relationships that they're in. So there's this feeling of I'm walking around it with this inauthenticity. And it looks great from the outside because I check all the boxes, but the meaningful relationships in my life are not there, and it feels very lonely, and I don't know what to do about it, and I'm tired. And so that's how I started kind of seeing women in kind of midlife begin to just want to have this desperate need to shed it. And I was right there with them. So it was like, oh, this is perfect because this is my story as well.
What was your story like? If you can share more, just one thing that stood out from all of that.
Sure. Yeah. So I think, kind of the short version, I was raised kind of in a non-traditional environment by my grandparents, and they were from the Depression era. So they were very, frugal, good salt of the earth people, but very strict. And they had very specific ways that things were to be done and very specific expectations for me. But also there was a lot of fear. It was parenting around a lot of fear. And so I really absorbed that as a child. I was a really highly sensitive child. And I can remember just feeling the fear, feeling the anxiety in my home about that. And so I figured out a way to make it work. I figured out a way to kind of crack the code, if you will. And I went straight into college, became high achieving, very perfectionistic, advanced in my career, was fairly confident on the outside, but internally I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I was feeling really fearful about making the wrong choice. And so it was really debilitating for me. And it was really hard for me to form authentic connections with other people because I was so focused on trying to keep myself just safe.
Oh my God, that must feel so stressful to be living like this.
Oh, yes. Yes. And it's funny because, before you hit record, we were talking about ways to kind of shed this, and I've been working pretty intensely, I'd say for the past 7 or 8 years to really get up close to this and start practicing small ways to kind of undo a lot of this way of living.
Yeah. Touching right into this. And on the surface, these patterns look all responsible, productive, and even successful, as you said. But what's really happening underneath it over time? What is it? What's the wear and tear and the cost of it?
Yeah, so I think for me, I hadn't realized how much on a physical level it was really starting to affect me. We talk about the brain and the gut and the heart connection. But also what we sometimes fail to mention is that, our heart and our gut kind of act as second brains for us, right? So if we try to just bypass something that's coming up in the body and trying to get our attention, it'll start to get a little bit louder and more pronounced. So things like, for me, it was like, an anxiety disorder, IBS, just kind of that nervous stomach all of the time. That kind of debilitating anxiety that would prevent me from taking healthy risks and things that I knew that would grow me as a person. Racing thoughts, ruminating about things over and over again, so just these things that I was sitting with clients and I was really great at helping them through it, but I couldn't quite get my head and heart around it for myself. And so it started on this, kind of journey of getting really brave and starting to just shed a lot of these things that were contributing to it.
And that takes, and I refer this oftentimes to an onion, that you peel an onion, and as you peel the onion, you cry.
Yes.
Because the onion produces this. But when you go deep into the heart center and you say, I need to peel back those layers that keep me frozen, that keep me stuck. What would that feel like when I start peeling the first layers?
Oh, that's a great point. Thank you for saying that, because I think so much of my own healing personally came through getting back in touch with what was coming up in my body. I was so dissociated. I was so used to being able to be in my brain and, just stay in that really safe headspace. But again, when you ignore the body is going to get your attention somehow, some way. And so getting back into this practice of like, oh, I can move freely in my body. I can identify when shame is coming up or constriction is happening and it's trying to tell me something. So how can I start to work with it to kind of create a little bit more freedom in my life? And that was not overnight. I mean, it was definitely a journey and still continues to be.
Yeah, we tend to push down those feelings because they're uncomfortable and we don't want to deal with them. And they usually, those feelings, at least from my experience, come up at the last opportune time.
Of course.
The least opportune time where it's like, no, not now. I can't deal with this right now.
Yeah.
And then they get shoved back and shoved down. And the more they get shoved down in my world, the more people I feel stuck.
Yes.
And I talk about this also in my book, Pursue Your Spark, is how that stuck feeling is that keeps us in those life traps and it doesn't want to let us go. And finding ways to escape those traps is a big piece. And from your work, you probably see this too. It's not happening when people come and say, give me one session. This is going to be fine. One session will do everything, right?
Right. I wish. That's not how it works. I mean, so much of this is like a liberation practice, right? Because if you think about the ways that perfectionism keeps a person in oppression, that's what this is. And so it's like, if you've never lived in a body that has felt free to express and free to feel, that's going to feel really scary, at first. And so, yeah.
Why are these patterns so hard to change, even when women know they're exhausted by them?
Number one, for women specifically, we are raised and praised for it, right? So we are the kind of emotional caretakers. We do the majority of the emotional labor in family systems. And so we watch our moms, our grandmoms, our aunts, from itty bitty, and it's normalized, right? And then again, it's like conditioned that, that you're a great mom. Look how sacrificial you are. And so when we kind of start to take our power back, it's like, oh, wait, hold on. My body tells me that I should be doing this, but society tells me that it's selfish. Which one do I follow? And so you're trying to get yourself unstuck from not just societal norms and expectations, but also these neural pathways in your brain that formed really early on. So it's like water kind of in a canyon. And each time it rains, the grooves just get deeper and deeper. But the beautiful thing about the brain that we know now is that we have neuroplasticity. So we can create new pathways, new ways of learning to react to our environment around us. So that's hopeful.
Yeah, I can only agree to this because I always look at it too from the maiden, the mother, and then the grandmother, basically, from those things that are handed down to us as women, being supposed to be grateful for everything that's given to us, not wanting anything for ourselves, being like my mom's like, oh, I'm just happy the way it is. And I'm like, Mom, don't you want anything more or else?
Yeah.
Or what is deep down inside of you that you always wanted and never really took a chance on?
Yes. And I look at this work too as systemic. Right. I mean, to kind of get into the freedom from oppression, right? So these choices that we're making now as women really, I think, are healing past generations. It's kind of saying, well, you didn't feel like you had the permission or the agency or the space to do it. And so I get to carry the torch a little bit further than you got to carry it. And thank God for that.
Yeah. I can see this relationship of how the growth is happening between my mom, myself, and my daughter, who's 34.
Yeah.
And how she sometimes responds to me, and I'm taken aback by her response because I'm thinking, why are you saying no? And why you're like, no, I don't want this, or I can't do this. Yeah. But I've learned through, including the interviews I have with my guests and my friends and people around, that this is a great thing. I taught her to be independent, to speak her mind, and to protect herself and take care of herself first before she's pleasing me, and vice versa. I'm pleasing my mom because then I'm telling my mom, well, Melanie just said this to me. And she goes, wow, I can't believe she said this. And as I'm saying this, Cindy, I hear myself say, yo, Melanie, you did an awesome job.
That's right. That's right. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm in shock and awe. And once that shock and awe wears off, I'm going to celebrate that.
And it's just seeing that through these generations here with me. I'm like, I did a good job. And she still is dealing with other things, but she's learned so much more to have her own agency than I've ever learned through the relationship with my mom, because it's like you said, it was people pleasing, the good daughter. She's a good daughter. My mom sometimes says, oh, only a daughter can do that. And I'm like, what? My brother is awesome at this.
Oh, that's so funny. It's so funny because it's societal norms, right? And we don't really, until we start to do this work. And I call it social justice work, because I do believe that when one person gets free, then other people can liberate themselves as well. So it's very powerful when done in communities as well, which I think is so important at this stage in life.
Yeah. And when you think about, we always say community, and community oftentimes, at least in my mind, implies a lot of people. But my community is very, very small. I know very few people that are my closest friends. I know a lot of people, but I would not call them my community for that purpose of what we're talking today. My community is very small. And it could be for the listeners too. It could be just one person that's your community.
That's right. No, that's a great point. I mean, community can take all shapes and forms. I think we saw that through COVID when people were just desperately looking for like-minded people. I think for a lot of us, it starts out in healing spaces, and we kind of get to handpick the people from those communities and kind of create our own little hybrid communities. So that's at least what I've done. And because I too have a small community, but it is very intentional.
Yeah, it's the COVID bubble group.
That's right.
I remember somebody said, "Can we join your COVID bubble group?" I'm like, no.
No.
Nope. We don't know your new girlfriend. And
that's right.
No.
No, it's too risky.
Cindy, how do people pleasing and perfectionism quietly start shaping the way women make decisions about their time, energy, and relationships?
I mean, I'm thinking about the word you said there, quietly, right? And I think that speaks loudly, the quiet part of it. I think of it as kind of like this, not to sound too dramatic, but this kind of like slow death, right? So you have that voice inside of you that says, I don't want to do it this way. I don't want to raise my kids this way. This doesn't feel good in my body. But we learn to turn the volume down on those like subtle voices. And so we just kind of start to lose ourselves over time by ignoring that intuition. And all of us have an intuition, but we're just not really taught, most of us, how to tap into that and how to listen to that. Instead, again, to go back to the obedience, we kind of look at, the way that society expects us to behave. And so it's very subtle. It's very quiet. I think women, a lot of times when they're in their young kind of child rearing days, they're kind of looking to the left and looking to the right and going, well, I guess I'll just join the masses, but not really ever stopping to ask if it aligns with their own values. And maybe they don't even know that they're allowed to have values in the first place. So
very true.
Yeah.
Because I think about this, like I personally know from my journey, I'm 65 now, that every 10 years I had a shift.
Yes.
Nothing dramatic, but I don't think I prescribed to the norm of people pleasing very much in my life.
Yeah.
But you just suddenly, like, you are just now an empty nester. How many of us are now empty nesting and saying, what do I do now? I've been people pleasing everybody. I did everything to perfection. I did the PTA meetings and the college things and the applications, all of that. And in the term, I only made relationships with the people throughout that time. And as this time goes away, these people fall away from that framework, from the school to school or before college. Like, you're going to move to California, you will have to establish a whole new group of community, a whole new time space of what you're going to do with your time now.
Yes, absolutely. And I get a lot of clients in my office that will come in and they'll say, I don't even know who I am. And I've been so obedient from childhood on. And now here I am in my 30s, 40s, 50s, and I don't even know my own preferences. And so we spend a lot of time asking the wrong question, I think. And instead of who am I think we need to be leading with what feels true in my body. That is a really very important first question to ask. So if you don't know who you are, how do you know what feels true to you? So a lot of times we just spend a lot of time just practicing with, like, the next time you go back out into the world and you have an interaction with someone, pay attention. If you're getting that little kind of feeling that's like, oh, I don't like the way I showed up in that conversation, it probably just didn't feel true to you. So you can start using those processes of elimination to figure out your identity now, who you are, because it does shift and change.
And that's a good segue into the self-trust, because that is what I look at it from my fitness background, is also that we're losing that self-trust. We have done so much. We have learned so much.
Yes.
Now we're at a point where we can make our own decisions for ourselves without all the noise around us. So where does it leave us?
Yeah, this self-trust concept is something that I've just been kicking around for a while now, because it's like, I think of the opposite of self-trust is self-abandonment. So think about rooms and spaces and conversations that you've been in where you've stayed small or you've complied with something that was really not okay with you, but in an effort to be, again, the good girl, the nice one, the compliant one, you just kind of sit there and let it be. But really, every time we stay in spaces that don't reflect who we truly are, we are abandoning ourselves in a sense. And so it's this idea of like, okay, now I need to see how I can focus on some sort of boundary practice that doesn't feel like a brick wall, but maybe it feels more like a little fence with a gate. And you get to come in, but you also get to leave too sometimes when it doesn't align. Yeah. And I think that builds self-trust. Yeah.
I love the idea of the gate, because I always think about all boundaries, but I never thought about that. When you say boundaries, it's like you're building a wall. But what if the wall is flexible, like your gate?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if you've heard of Prentice Hemphill, but I'm reading a lot of their work, and they talk a lot about boundaries being the proximity at which I can love you and myself simultaneously. And sometimes that proximity has to change in distance, right? Like sometimes you need to be further away because I just can't show up as my full self, in this conversation at this time in my life. But that could change, I mean,
and it sometimes is okay too, because I feel like it goes with exercise, for instance, and that came to mind with exercise. You don't always feel like exercising every day.
No.
So you don't feel strong when we don't feel strong inside. You can't show up for as yourself.
Yeah.
And you dabble around, and I think that's okay too. Then you can go back to where you feel safe and then use that next jump board to where you go like, okay, I'm aligned. I know what I'm going to say and how I'm going to respond when I'm in these conversations.
Yes. Oh, that's a great example, because I think so much of what you're talking about too is just part of the regimen for staying in what Brene Brown calls fit spiritual condition. What are the things that I need in my life to stay in fit spiritual condition? And exercise movement is a huge one, I think, for me. Yeah.
I mean, I hope for everybody, because I always say exercise is good for you no matter what age.
Right. Right. Yes. And when we haven't had it, we know, because our boundaries get really loose and then we get real resentful, or at least I do.
What changes in midlife that suddenly make this pattern harder to tolerate or harder to hide from? What changes in midlife that suddenly make those patterns harder to tolerate or harder to hide from?
Ooh, gosh. I think there's something really special about midlife for women in particular, right? Because it's like all of a sudden our roles are starting to shift. We're not as responsible for other people in our lives anymore. So we have to really kind of take a look at what we want, at maybe for the first time for a lot of us, right? And I think what happens, and I can speak for myself, is when I'm showing up in spaces where I have maybe masked before, or I have kind of fawned or gone along with something, there's a shift now in my body that it feels a lot more tight, a lot more rigid. It's like I'm automatically like at attention, that this environment no longer fits the softness that I'm really looking for, that I want relationships where I can be both held and feel very free to be myself. And when I'm in conversation with people that maybe necessarily don't align with that, there's something that happens. It's hard to explain, but it's almost like it's like a tightness. It's like, oh, hold on. My antenna just went up. This is not conducive with how I want to carry myself. And so I can be polite, and I can also excuse myself and say thanks for the chat and be on my way. So I think that's what happens, is we just start to get more attuned at recognizing those cues within ourselves.
If these patterns aren't actually the problem, all the things we've talked about so far, what are they protecting women from?
Being rebels, using their voice. Like I think of the conformity, the perfectionism, the pleasing as these really wise managers that have shown up in our lives to quite literally save us sometimes. And I'm grateful. Listen, I am grateful for that part. I'm grateful for my inner protectors. I really am. I think that it has helped me so much in moving to certain, career adventures and whatnot. But I think what happens is these protectors are still really gripping to protect you from something that maybe you don't really need protecting from anymore. And so I think that's what it is it's like, oh, I'm outgrowing you, and I'll still call on you when I need you. Sometimes I still do need to mask in certain situations that are not safe, but I don't need you standing at attention 24/7. So thank you for being here. And also you can go take a seat in the corner and I'll let you know if I need your assistance type thing is how I kind of like to think about my relationship with that protective part of me.
It's so liberating though.
Oh, yeah.
That you have the choice to either call upon or say, no, I'm good. I got this.
Yes, that's that agency, I think, that forms in midlife where you just go, oh my gosh, I've had you all along, but I just didn't know it.
Yeah. At what point does this stop feeling like this is who I am and start becoming disconnected, you becoming disconnected from yourself when you go through that process?
Like, let me make sure I understand it. So at what point does it start to feel
like this is who I am when we're talking about the self-trust?
Oh,
in this case?
Yes. I think, the more we get up close to our self-trust, we have to be in relationship with ourselves in a different way, I think, to live out these values. We have to have a lot of mini practices with ourselves where we can get through situations that bring up anxiety and fear in our bodies and go, I handled that. Oh, I handled that. Okay, look at what I just did, right? So they're like little drops in the bucket. And over time, I think it does become who you are. And so anytime you go against that and you start acting out of alignment with that self-trust part, it's very evident very quickly. And you're like, oh, hold on a second. No, we're not going down that path anymore. We're on this path now. This is who I am. And I know this because I've had a lot of repetitive experiences with that. Did that answer it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good way to look at it, because there has to be a shift. And it's a shift to where you understand that real change happens.
Yes.
Because if there's nothing gratifying, then why would I do all the work?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more times you can stay with yourself through an emotion that's unpleasant and you learn to work with it and go, okay, protector, like you're here again. I see you, and we're going to do this. We're going to move through this. Like, trust me, I've got this.
It's okay to talk to yourself like this, guys.
Oh, I do it all the time.
It's totally okay. It's not like you're talking to your other self that's next to you, but it's your inner self that needs addressing and needs talking to.
And a lot of compassion, because a lot of these protective parts that I tell my clients, about they're very young. These are parts of yourself that probably formed like single digit in age when you needed a protector and maybe you didn't have one there. And so they're very, very, very young in their maturity as well. So they're just kind of waiting for you to step in and like be the parent.
Yeah. What does a woman need to understand about herself before real change can happen?
That's a great question. What do they need to understand about themselves? I think they need to understand what doesn't feel good in their bodies anymore. They need to understand their own. I don't know if anger is too strong of a word, but I think for me, I'm going to use it in this case because I was kind of conditioned and raised to believe that anger was wrong or bad, that it was a negative emotion and nobody likes to be around someone who's angry. But I think when I got with a really great therapist who helped me understand how to harness that anger and how to work with it as an agent of change, then it kind of became this empowering thing where it was like, oh, I'm not afraid of this anymore. Now, I'm not going to go burning anything down, but it's like, oh, I know what I stand for. Like I don't have to fear my own discontentment with this. Instead, I can look at it and go, it's there trying to teach me something. It's trying to get my attention. And so what am I not okay with anymore? And I think if we don't ask ourselves that question to begin with, we're just going to keep continuing in these cycles that are draining us and that don't feel true to us.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one small moment this week where the person that's listening right now can share or catch this pattern in real time or respond differently?
I would say as like a somatic practice, notice the next time something comes up inside of you where maybe it's like a boundary that someone is not respecting, or maybe you're just developing your own sense of resentment because women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Like we're tired. We've been playing these roles. And if I'm feeling resentful about something or I'm feeling upset about something, can I notice the tension in my body? Can I notice where I'm holding the tightness? And can I, instead of trying to shut that down, can I get curious? I think curiosity is so underrated and so important. Can I get curious? Can I ask, hey, what's going on there with that? I notice you're angry about that right now. What can you change about this situation? Not about the other person, but what can you change? What's yours?
Instead of trying to force or fix these patterns, what does it look like to work with them differently?
I think that goes back to curiosity. Curiosity is so expansive for me. I think about a lot of the emotions that have been constricting and have maybe kind of held me in a tight space in my body. And if I can get curious about things, what I notice about myself is I'm more playful, I'm more creative, I'm more permission giving to myself to have fun with things, that I don't have to just grit my teeth and hold on to the handle of life, just trying to get through it. But I can get some distance and I can look at it and go, oh, wait, this whole life thing, I'm supposed to enjoy it. Oh, wow. Okay. I want more of that, please.
And there's so much joy in life. And I like the idea of holding on. I could just visualize, somebody's running after the bus and grabbing a handle and just flying next to the bus saying, yeah, I want to hang on to this, but I want something else. Let me out of here.
Yes. I was thinking about the handle that I would hold on to in the car when my kids were learning to drive. I called it like my SSH handle, I would just hold on to that for dear life. And it's like, you don't realize how hard you're gripping to things when you finally decide like, oh, joy is my right. Mm-hmm. It is my right. Yeah.
And when I look at this, through the lens of Pilates, and I teach Pilates.
Yes.
In all of my courses, Pursue Your Art Blueprint, we have Pilates in there. And I can see once people give themselves permission to be playful, when I say, okay, there's a structure to it, but let's have fun with this.
Yeah.
everything changes about their behavior, about how curious they get. Can I do it this way? Is it allowed? Would Joseph Pilates say can't do this? And I'm like, well, I don't know. He's not here anymore, so give it a whirl.
Right.
Maybe you invent a new exercise. Who knows? But that joy that comes out, and that also that self-agency about, look at me, I can do this.
Yes.
I don't have to abide by all those rules. I feel comfortable. I feel free, and I have the joy in my body.
Yeah.
And my mind.
Yes. Yes. And what does that really feel like? Because a lot of people, again, if you're a recovering perfectionist, you might feel kind of a little scared to feel joy. I think joy is one of those emotions that can be scarier sometimes for people to experience than pain, because it's vulnerable.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
If she, the listener today, on some of our He's Too, is listening right now and feels exhausted from constantly trying to hold everything together, what do you want her to understand about herself?
Yeah. I would want her to understand that she has been in this cycle probably for her own protection for a long time, for her own sense of, well, this keeps me safe and this keeps me good and this keeps me accepted. But that the exhaustion is also a teacher for you, and it's coming up because it's trying to communicate something to you, and that you don't have to figure out how to break up with that all in one fell swoop. I get a lot of clients that are like, I don't want to feel this way, and yet I also don't know how to stop. And so I would want the listener to just be so, so tender with themselves when they're starting to unearth a lot of this stuff, because underneath the exhaustion are stories, are really old stories that live in the body. And they're going to take a lot of self-compassion to soften so that you can release them.
Yeah. And it's not going to happen overnight, like we said earlier. It's going to take some work.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, and that courage is going to feel like fear at first. And that's okay.
And that's okay. Fear is okay. I mean, I don't prescribe to if you have fear, do it anyways in general, because I would not jump off the bridge if I'm afraid of bungee jumping, which I am. But this is a different fear. Yeah. I think the fear of unearthing who you really are.
Fear of possibility, right? Because it's like, oh, what if there's a whole different path? And again, that's vulnerable. So healing is vulnerable, right? Yeah. But that's why the self-compassion is so important, because when you look at the literal meaning of the word compassion, it means to suffer with. So can we be okay sitting with ourselves in this pain at first, this discomfort that we've been talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at Buddhism, it's the same. You sit with your suffering.
Yes.
And you feel the emotions. You feel what's going through your head and through your body, as we said today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I want you to think about something. A lot of women spend years believing they just need to try harder, push harder, fix more, and stay more disciplined. But eventually, something deeper begins to happen. Your body stops feeling familiar. You stop trusting what it needs. And even fitness can start to feel frustrating rather than supportive. So next time, we're talking about something I think far more women are experiencing than anyone admits: the midlife body disconnect that no one talks about. Not just why your body feels different in midlife, but why so many women no longer feel at home in their own bodies. Because maybe your body isn't failing you. Maybe it's asking you to listen differently.